Welcome back, I guess. I just got done with my wisdom tooth extraction surgery, and my jaw is still a little numb, so bear with me if I sound kind of weird. But today we're going to be talking about the Keddie Cabin Murders, an unsolved massacre in the woods. As always, if you like stories like this, please hit that subscribe button. We re-creeping ever closer to 1 million subscribers, and none of that would be possible without you guys. So thank you so much for all of your support over these past few years. Now let's get into the story. In the summer of 1984, 3 generations of a family from Portola, California decided they wanted to spend some time up at the Sierra Nevada mountains. They rented a cabin in the woods near the town of Keddie, California, and they were excited to spend some quality time together, away from the hustle and bustle of city life. There was a mother and her 2 children, a teenage boy and a teenage girl, and the mother's boyfriend. And then there was also the grandmother and the great-grandmother. All in all, there were 7 people staying at the cabin. On the evening of June, after the family had settled in, the mother, Susan, decided she wanted to go out dancing. She asked her boyfriend, John, if he wanted to join her, and he said yes. The 2 of them left the cabin and headed to a nearby bar. After drinking a few beers, Susan and John started to make their way back to the cabin, but they never made it. In the morning, when the family awoke up and realized that Susan and John hadn't come back the previous night, they assumed that they had just gone to a different cabin to have some privacy. However, by noon, when they still hadn't seen the couple, they decided to go looking for them. When they arrived at the site of the crime, they noticed something horrible. Susan and John's car was parked at the scene, but neither of them were anywhere to be found. It didn't take long for the authorities to find their bodies. They were discovered in a shallow grave about 30 yards away from the cabin. An autopsy revealed that both Susan and John had been shot multiple times. But that wasn't the only horrible thing to be found that day. When the police entered the cabin, they found the most horrific scene imaginable. The teenage daughter and her 2 younger siblings were lying dead in their beds, seemingly having been strangled with a pair of pajama bottoms. The grandmother and great-grandmother had also been strangled, but they had managed to make it out of the house. Their bodies were found outside on the porch, but the killer or killers had returned to the scene and had shot them, killing them instantly. The only person who was spared was the teenage son, but he too was badly beaten and had been shot in the head, but he survived. After interviewing him, the police were able to piece together what had happened at the cabin. Apparently, sometime in the middle of the night, an intruder had broken into the cabin and begun to attack the family. The killer or killers had used extreme violence, beating several members of the family with a crowbar before strangling them. For some reason, they had decided to spare the teenage son, but they did kill his girlfriend, who was visiting at the time. The son told the police that he had managed to hide under some clothes in a bedroom closet, and that's why he survived. He said that when he heard gunshots and saw his family members lying dead in front of him, he ran into the woods and hid until he came across a ranger station. When the police arrived at the scene, they had no leads, and nobody in the small town of Keddie could think of anyone who would want the family dead. This was a horrible crime, but it wasn't the first violent crime to occur in the area. Just a year before, a young woman had been found dead in the woods not too far from where the family's cabin was located. Her death had been ruled a suicide, but investigators began to wonder if the 2 cases might be connected. What makes this case particularly creepy is the fact that there are still so many unanswered questions. Who killed the family, and why? What happened to the killer, and why did they spare the teenage son? These questions have never been answered, and the case remains unsolved to this very day. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. As always, if you liked it, please hit that like button, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next week. Bye.